Trump's address to the nation. Now, is he facing tremendous pressure back home because of his falling popularity rating that almost he's forced to admit? Is he going to apologize for Iran war, or is he going to make announcement for some sort of a ground invasion? Everybody is keeping their fingers crossed.
Thank you, Neelu, for inviting me. I don't think there's going to be any apology or anything of that sort. That's just not in President Trump's nature. And also, I don't think he feels that it is required. Apology for what? Now, what I think is going to happen is that his ratings are down. There is a huge backlash against this war.
But is it going to be that easy for Donald Trump to get out of this conflict? You remember in the beginning, it was said that, the war will get over in 3-4 days. That's what they thought. Then it went to 3 weeks, then it completed a month, and now we are into the second month now. And now he's saying that he will come out of Iran, out of this conflict in 3 weeks' time. Now, is it that easy? Even if you look at the deadline of 3 weeks, another 3 weeks. His last deadline, which he gave, was April 6th. And the last time when he gave this deadline, and from then to today, of course, so many things have changed. And now he's going to do a nation's address tomorrow. How much to believe Donald Trump at this point of time?
See, this is a very difficult question to answer, because nobody knows how much one can believe Donald Trump. He changes his mind at whim. He says something in the morning and he changes his mind and says something entirely opposite the next day or in the evening.
The China and Pakistan, they have drawn up a 5-point plan to end the war, which includes an immediate ceasefire and the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. Now, why do you think is China getting involved here? Pakistan, of course, was into it, but why is China increasingly becoming more like a mediator in this?
No, I don't think China is acting as a mediator. China is actually taken on the role of the power which is going to be the foremost power in this region after the US power diminishes in this region.
Hello and a warm welcome to HW News Network, your one-stop show, truth be told, for some engaging and thought-provoking conversations. President Donald Trump has said that the United States could stop attacking Iran within 2 to 3 weeks, and that a deal is not necessary to end a war that has disrupted energy supplies and shaken the global economy. Now, Trump's comments came as Iranian Minister of Foreign Affairs. He gave an interview to Al Jazeera where he said that no negotiations are going on with Washington despite direct and indirect exchanges of messages nearly 5 weeks after the US and Israel began attacking Iran. Now, Trump, who previously claimed that Iran was engaged in negotiations and begging for a deal, agreed to change his tune on Tuesday on the alleged diplomatic drive. Now, what exactly he said, and I'm going to quote him, Iran doesn't have to make a deal. And then he says to the reporters in White House that we will be leaving soon, maybe 2 weeks or maybe 3. But what we are coming to know from the White House also is that Donald Trump is planning to address the nation at 9 p.m. Washington time, which is for India at around 6:30 a.m. tomorrow. That is Thursday morning. We would get to know what is Donald Trump going to say in his address to the nation. Now, giving you a little backdrop, what we are told by the people in America and what we are reading elsewhere, that the popularity rating of Donald Trump has drastically gone down, much below than what the president of America then faced during the Vietnam War. So is Donald Trump now forced to step back? How seriously one should take Donald Trump when he says that we will be winding out or moving out in 2 to 3 weeks, because the intensity level of the war is increasing day by day. If you look at Iran, they have threatened all the American companies like Apple, Microsoft, and Google that their buildings are going to be attacked, and they've asked the people to evacuate those buildings. So how seriously should one take Donald Trump's statement. And of course, he also says at the same time that he will be leaving Iran in 2 to 3 weeks. But then he also tells the nations that you please look at buying your own oil. I'm not bothered about Hormuz Strait, whether it opens or not. So, and then he also says that we will not step back from Iran till we send Iran back to the Stone Age. So, all sorts of conflicting signals again. But yes, Trump's address to nation then becomes important tomorrow morning. So, joining me this evening is Ghazala Wahab, who's an author and a strategy expert. Thank you so much, Ghazala, for joining. And my first question to you, Ghazala, is that Trump's address to the nation. Now, is he facing tremendous pressure back home because of his falling popularity rating that almost he's forced to admit? Is he going to apologize for Iran war, or is he going to make announcement for some sort of a ground invasion? Everybody's keeping their fingers crossed.
Thank you, Neelu, for inviting me. I don't think there's going to be any apology or anything of that sort. That's just not in President Trump's nature. And also, I don't think he feels that it is required. Apology for what? Now, what I think is going to happen is that his ratings are down. There is a huge backlash against this war, not just in the United States, but also in Europe. You would have noticed the statement of Italian Prime Minister Meloni, where she has not only condemned the genocide in Gaza, she has used very harsh terms against Israel. Suddenly, she has woken up to the genocide. She has also condemned the attack on the girls' school in Minab. She has called this war, US's war, illegal. So she is not the only one. Spain has condemned it in a very harsh terms. Germany, France, everybody has taken a very strong position against the United States in this war. Now, obviously, United States is isolated. They have also realized that they cannot, the longer they stay here, more they will be directed by Israel, or more they will be run by Israel's priorities in this war. Because Israel is spiking all efforts at any kind of conversation with Iran. Whenever they talk about something, whenever US reaches out to Iranian leadership, and until now they have not warmed up to these overtures by the US. But even before that could happen, Israel launches an attack on Iran, causing civilian casualties, damaging civilian infrastructure, educational infrastructure, research infrastructure, basically all non-military infrastructure. So Trump also is realizing that the longer this continues and Israel is allowed to act with impunity, US will be further and further dragged into this quagmire, and they will really have no exit after a point. So maybe some sort of a sense is prevailing there, and they feel that even if Israel is left to do what it is doing on its own, and maybe it will gradually stop doing what it is doing if the US pulls back. Trump has already made these sounds a few days ago also, that I don't need the oil from Hormuz, we are self-sufficient. Those who want, they can do their own negotiations. He said, we have destroyed Iran, we can declare a victory. And Pete Hegseth, Marco Rubio, everybody has been in some form or the other, they have declared a victory over Iran. So if this sort of a face saving they're happy with, and if through their lobbying groups in the US, through their media management, if they're able to convey this narrative that we have changed the leadership and we have put Iran back by several decades, we have destroyed its nuclear program, we have destroyed its ballistic missile program, so it's fine for them.
Now that Donald Trump says that, you get your own oil, I'm not bothered about whether Hormuz Strait opens up or not. What does it mean for countries like India? And will India try and strike some sort of a positive bilateral relationship now? Already we've lost a lot of ground with no condemnation for Khamenei's killing. They're not signing the condolence book. All that is a past chapter. But will India now have room to make up for the losses we have seen from our end, the diplomatic losses in the last 1 month?
India has no choice but to do that. And I think there is some sort of a rethinking already in India that they have to make these overtures because we after this news came out that Pakistan has emerged as a main mediator, we saw the frustration of the foreign minister. So there is a bit of a rethink. And once US steps back, then there will be a further rethink in India that we have to safeguard our own interests. Even if we don't immediately start buying Iranian oil, if we do agree to some of their conditions, a condition is that you buy in yuan. If we agree to that, or maybe not in yuan, if we reach some kind of a rapprochement with Iran, maybe they will allow Indian ships, Indian vessels to sail through the Strait of Hormuz. They've done this periodically in the past also. uh, the goodwill of Indian people is huge, and I think Iran would not want to lose this goodwill by taking a very strong hardline attitude towards government of India. It will also try and score greater brownie points with both the Indian people as well as the government of India by saying that we are reciprocating the warmth shown by the people of India. If you notice Iran's game on managing public relations, managing its narrative about the war that it is fighting, has been completely on tops. So it is operating very intelligently, and whenever it has got some public sentiment in its favor, it always capitalizes on it. It has done in the last 1 month. It has not abandoned the public opinion which has been generating in its favor. Even when Germany had taken some sort of a hardline position against Iran and said, yes, regime change must happen, Iran was quick to appreciate the sympathy or the protests that were happening in the public space in Germany. So it is mindful of this, and I don't think it will take a harsh position against India.
But I was reading Donald Trump's statement on oil, which is very, very direct, and he obviously gives a message to countries like United Kingdom also. And in a post on Truth Social, President has taken aim at countries like United Kingdom, which have refused to get involved in the decapitation of Iran, telling them to either buy U.S. fuel or get involved in the rapidly escalating war. Now, what exactly he said that you will have to start learning how to fight for yourself. USA won't be there to help you anymore, just like you weren't there for us. Now, Iran has been essentially decimated. The hard part is done. Get your own oil. Now, what does this statement mean for all the countries, whether it is the NATO countries, whether it is India, whether it is the Gulf countries? What does it mean that get your own oil? And we are not, I mean, America will not get into it. Learn to fight for yourself.
See, none of these countries will fight, and they don't want to fight. They have been pushed into this corner because, I'm sorry, they've been pushed into this corner because of Israel and America. Once the attacks stop, all of them, led by, I'm sure, France, will be striking deals with Iran. And they will be negotiating with Iran. See, all of them were party to the earlier agreement, JCPO. And when Trump, in its first term, tore away that agreement, there were some mild voices of protest from Europe, and they said, no, it was a very good agreement, and US shouldn't have acted in the haste the way it did. So all of them are eager to strike deals with Iran, and they will do it in good time. So it's just only the matter of the attacks or violence stopping, and they would be reaching out to Iran. Whether they do it directly in the beginning or they do it through Russia or China has to be seen. In any case, there are communications between them and China, between them and Russia. So they will strike their own deals, and nobody will have to fight. Nobody will have to send their navy or their special forces or anybody to get oil out of it, because Iran has taken the position, which is probably a very reasonable position, that you accept our conditions and you can take the oil. So they'll accept the conditions.
No, but is it going to be that easy for Donald Trump to get out of this conflict? You remember in the beginning, it was said that, the war will get over in 3-4 days. That's what they thought. Then it went to 3 weeks, then it were completed a month, and now we are into the second month now. And now he's saying that he will come out of Iran, out of this conflict in 3 weeks' time. Now, is it that easy? Even if you look at the deadline of 3 weeks, another 3 weeks, his last deadline, which he gave, was April 6th. And the last time when he gave this deadline, and from then to today, of course, so many things have changed. And now he's going to do a nation's address tomorrow. How much to believe Donald Trump at this point of time?
See, this is a very difficult question to answer because nobody knows how much one can believe Donald Trump. He changes his mind at whim. He says something in the morning and he changes his mind and says something entirely opposite the next day or in the evening. So it's difficult to say how serious he is about the April 6th deadline or 3 weeks timeline that he is giving. But dispassionately, if we see it as outsider who's looking at America's situation in Iran, they are in a very bad situation, and this situation is only going to deteriorate if they even send the ground troops in for some kind of an operation. You don't know how Iran is going to react. Even if they think they are going to do a swift and short operation, that is what they think. You don't know how Iran will react, whether it will remain a short and swift operation, whether there will be so many casualties that to retrieve that situation, they'll probably need to send more troops, and then they are stuck in quicksand. So the situation is where it is poised at the moment. It is only going to deteriorate even further for the US. The only catch in whatever Trump has been saying is Israel's role in all of this. Israel is still on that upswing, despite all the losses that it has suffered and probably loss of very senior leadership. It is continuing to attack. And if this attack continues, even if it doesn't continue at the level which it is at the moment, if peters out a bit and maybe there are 2 or 3 missile attacks every few days, the state of violence will remain. So there can't be peace because once Israel attacks, then Iran is going to retaliate. So that violence will continue. So I don't know if Trump will be able to completely rein in Israel and ensure that there is no violence. But my feeling is that even if it is able to rein in Israel and there is no violence for, let's say, a week or so, it doesn't mean that it's the comprehensive end of war which Iran is asking for, because it doesn't. There is no guarantee that after 2 months Israel will not start behaving the way it does. So I think we can only think of an end to this war, whatever Trump may say, once Iran agrees to the end of war. Once Iran believes that the guarantees, the conditions that it has put forward have been accepted, and these conditions would ensure that Iran's territorial sovereignty and integrity both will be protected. And it's not just the physical borders that need to be protected, it is even its airspace. So which means that no aerial attack, no missile attack, not even a stray missile attack into Iran. So so basically when the war will finish, whether it's 3 weeks or 4 weeks, all of that depends upon when Iran feels that it has been reassured adequately that its territorial integrity will not be violated.
Right. No, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has said that Tehran has the necessary will to end the war, provided its enemies guarantee it will not flare up again. Do you think that America or Israel can give a guarantee that the war is not going to flare up? Because last June we saw this kind of flare up, which lasted for about 12 days, if I'm not mistaken. And then again, we see it happening last month, and then this second month continues. So, what is the guarantee? And how will that guarantee be given to Tehran by America and Israel?
I don't think Iran really cares for the guarantees given by America and Israel. It doesn't trust either of these countries. The guarantees will have to come in the form of some kind of weakening of Israel's capacity to hit. Maybe it will demand that Israel, complete demilitarization is not possible. Israel will never agree to that, and America will never agree to that. And forget America, even NATO countries will not agree to that. So, but some sort of weakening of its capacity, limitation of its capacity will have to have to happen for Iran to be reassured that Israel will not get into this attacking mode again. So that is one part. Iran has also said that the war has to stop on all fronts concurrently. So it's not just Iran that the attacks have to stop. It's saying that attacks have to stop in Gaza, attacks have to stop in West Bank, where they're continuing with their occupation with impunity. Attacks have to stop in South Lebanon, and the area which Israel has captured until now, it has to vacate, it has to go back. So these are the things that Iran has put on the table, and I don't think it is going to negotiate or it is going to compromise on any of these conditions, because these are the bare minimum conditions it is seeking. And by Russia and China should be able to persuade the US to rein in Israel to a certain extent. Now, how far all of this will happen, I don't know, because Israel remains the sore thumb in this. Israel remains the spoiler in all of this.
But I'm also reading, Ghazala, that the China and Pakistan, they have drawn up a 5-point plan to end the war, which includes an immediate ceasefire and the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. Now, why do you think is China getting involved here? Pakistan, of course, was into it, but why is China increasingly becoming more like a mediator in this?
No, I don't think China is acting like a mediator. Uh, China is actually taken on the role of the power which is going to be the foremost power in this region after the US power diminishes in this region. See, whenever this war ends, one thing would be clear, that for the West Asian countries, the Arab countries, the Arab regimes, US will no longer be the guarantor of their security, because US has exposed itself here. It is no longer a credible power in this region. So all these countries, because they are so frightened of Iran, they will seek another external power to kind of build up their resources, their power against Iran, or to at least ensure that Iran doesn't pose a threat to these regimes. So they will need some sort of external support, and China is stepping up to acquire this role, to assume this role. China doesn't have to deploy troops, but China has very good relations with Iran. So if China is there as a overbearing power, or the looming power in this region, so it will have some kind of a salutary effect on the entire region. They will feel reassured that there will not be internecine fightings, the regimes will not be toppled, Iran will not be able to export revolution in those regimes. So I think that is the role which China is now looking at, and that is why this when the Pakistan minister went there and spoke with the Chinese counterpart, they have issued this. But this is not. This doesn't replace the 5-point conditions which Iran has put forward. This is just a Chinese and Pakistan joint statement that has been issued. But if you see it carefully, it supports Iran. It supports Iran's position in this war. So I don't think China is taking any position which is opposite, or which is in contrast to Iran's position.
I'll go back to that same statement which Donald Trump said, that he will only move back from Iran until unless he sends Iran to the Stone Age. Now, what does that mean? That is he going to deplete the nuclear capability of Iran? Is that what he indicates by sending Iran to the Stone Age, or is it something else which Trump is looking at?
I think it's just rhetoric. It means nothing. The Americans have been saying all sorts of things. Trump has been declaring victory over Iran from the second day onwards. The day after Ayatollah Khamenei's death was announced, they've been claiming victory. 2 weeks back, they said we have nobody to talk to in Iran because we've killed everybody. But they're still talking. So I don't think anything that President Trump is saying needs to be taken literally at the face value. He just makes these statements, whatever comes in his mind, and then forgets about them.
What happens to the Strait of Hormuz now? Are the countries going to bilaterally negotiate with Iran, or is there going to be some kind of a statement? Because yesterday only Iranian parliament has passed that legislation which converts the Strait of Hormuz into a toll gate. So, what happens to the Hormuz crisis? What about those ships which are stuck, and they are not in few, but many, many numbers which are stuck? So, what happens then?
See, this has a precedence. Even in Suez Canal, a toll, a fee is charged. So, what they are saying, Iran has been saying, or that this entire region, whether Strait of Hormuz or the Gulf of Oman, they are not global commons. These are territorial waters of Iran and territorial waters of Oman. So, they are well within their rights to charge for the passage of ships. And I think just as people got used to the charge, paying the charge for Suez Canal, they will get used to this also. So this part of this change is not going to. Uh, this is going to stay. This assertion of their sovereignty on the Strait of Hormuz, and the reason Iran has brought Oman into this is because Oman and Iran, they have been cooperating for a while now. So I think the other nations will have to accept that, and I don't see this will be a point of conflict in the future. The Gulf nations, especially UAE and Bahrain,
Then this
uh,
legislation, what does it do? Now, are we to assume that the Strait of Hormuz is something which functions now, whose functioning will be somewhat like Suez Canal or a Panama Canal?
this is what they are saying. It will be like that, but that will happen only once the war is over, once there is peace. As long as their missiles are flying all over, it cannot be like Suez Canal or Panama Canal. It can't be like that because there is war going on. So until the war is there, they will allow countries which are friendly to Iran only their vessels to pass through. But turning this toll gate into a future reality is going to happen once there is peace and we move forward from this stage of war towards rebuilding the region.
But my final question, Ghazala, is that even if the war comes to an end, like what Donald Trump is indicating, that we are not interested in staying there, we'll come out in 2 to 3 weeks, till the time Iran is pounded back to the Stone Age, along with that comment. But what happens to the economy of the Gulf, economies of countries like India? How much time will these countries take to revive back to their original shape?
Uh, See, India hasn't suffered directly the consequences of the war, except the crisis of the oil and gas. But the Gulf countries, so our recovery is only a matter of the supply to resume, and we will be fine. Even today, our the petroleum, petrol, diesel, and all that, it is available. We have a shortage, but we have managed to mitigate that. The crisis is only in the CNG. But for the Gulf country, the rebuilding will be a very long process. The reason is that even if they rebuild their infrastructure, rebuilding their reputation will take a long time, because most of these countries, especially the UAE, uh, the population of UAE is probably only 10% of the total population. I mean, the indigenous Arabs, the Emiratis, are mainly 10% of the total population. The majority of them are expats, people who hold another citizenship. So most of these will take a little time to develop their confidence back to invest in UAE, to come back to set up their businesses there. I know many companies, many middle level businesses, which have already moved out of UAE to other places which they think are safer, places like Mauritius or the close by islands. So they will need a lot of reassurance that they can move their businesses back to UAE. So for UAE, building of physical infrastructure may not take that long, but building its reputation back and getting its investors, its population back will take a little time. So that is going to be the case for the rest of the Gulf nations. So this process of reviving their economies will take a little time.
One last guess, which I wanted you to make, that what is your guess? What is Donald Trump going to say in his address to the nation tomorrow early morning when we see?
Actually, I have no idea. I am presuming that he'll probably just repeat what he has said, that I'm not responsible for the security of Hormuz, or whether it's open or it is closed, and
And he
everybody
has
else has
already
to
said that
come.
no deal is required.
So I
He
think
did say that no deal is required with
yes,
Iran.
yes. So I think he's just going to reiterate that. Probably he'll just express his displeasure even more with NATO and how they don't come and support America. And the worst thing that can happen, I mean, is that he will probably say that America's commitment to NATO will reduce. America will no longer be as committed to continental security as it was earlier. So that is what possibly can happen. But it's President Trump, anything can happen.
Right. All right. So we'll have to wait and watch what Donald Trump says tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. That is India time. What he's going to say. Is he going to announce a ground invasion? Is he going to make some further announcements? Or will there be an announcement of the ceasefire? Nobody knows as of now. Thank you so much, Ghazala, for joining on HW News. Thank you.
Thank you.